This video will go over how to enter sample information into event management when samples are analyzed by more than one lab. For this video, we'll look at an example where each sample is being analyzed for metals at one lab and analyzed for PFAS at another. At the beginning of a project, your sampling event can be planned under Tools, Data, Event Management. Doing so gives you access to event tracking reports, found under Reports, Event Tracking Reports. For more information on planning your sampling event, please review our event management tutorial video. For more information on tracking reports, please refer to our Event Tracking Reports overview video. Both videos are linked in the description. Let's go to Tools, Data, Event Management. On the Assign Locations tab, we've already finished assigning our locations. On the Assign Methods tab, we've already finished assigning our methods. These steps are exactly the same whether the project uses one lab or multiple labs. Next, go to the Assign Field Samples tab. We will make sure we have the correct event selected and click Add Edit Samples. We will highlight all of the locations in the list at the top to get them to show up in the grid below. You can see that we've already filled out most of the fields using the drop-downs. Our event management tutorial, linked in the description, gives more detail on the process. Notice that the lab and method fields are not yet filled out. Click the checkbox in the header row to select all of the samples. We'll add our first lab using the lab dropdown. For this example, let's say the lab running the metals analysis is Test America Burlington. We can jump down to a T by typing the letter T, then select Test America Burlington and use the plus button to add it. You can see that the lab is now populated. Since Test America is going to analyze metals for this example, we will scroll to the right and use the Methods to Update option in the lower right to select SW6020A. We will click Check Selected Methods. We can see that the boxes are checked for SW6020A for each of our samples. Since Test America is not analyzing PFAS in this case, we will not check the boxes for QSM B15. To add our second lab for the QSM B15 analysis, we will make sure the applicable samples are selected and click the Copy Rows button. We can copy the rows because these are the exact same samples. They are just being sent to a separate lab. Therefore, the field sample ID, matrix, depths, sample type, sample number, etc. will all be the same. Only the lab and the method need to be changed. For this example, we'll say the QSM B15 analysis is being run by ALS Labs' Kelso, Washington location. Our duplicates are already selected, so we can use the lab dropdown to scroll down to ALS and select the Kelso location. Click the plus button to add it. We can see that choosing a different lab from the dropdown overwrote the previous value. Each of these samples now have a second record, tying them to the second lab. Next, since ALS Labs is analyzing PFAS for this example, we will scroll to the right and use the Methods to Update option to check the boxes for QSM B15. We'll also uncheck the SW6020A boxes. Click Save Changes. Note that if we were sending samples to a QA lab, we would follow the same steps of copying a line, then updating the lab and the methods. For the QA lab, we would complete one additional step of changing the sample type to a regulatory duplicate, RD. Now, we can review the information we entered to make sure that each sample has one record for each lab, and that each lab has the correct methods selected. When everything looks good, close the interface. The Field Tracking tab can be filled out as usual. The primary difference is that different SDG numbers will be entered for each lab. If we go to Reports, Chemistry Reports, Chain of Custody Report, we can create a system-generated chain of custody for each lab. Choose the project, event, and chain of custody. Then, choose the lab in question. Click View Report. The report will include the lab's information at the top, which your Synectics point of contact can help you update as necessary. The report will only show the samples and methods relevant to the selected lab. You can choose the other lab and click View Report again to generate a chain of custody that is customized for the other lab. For more information on this report, please refer to our Field Sampling Chem Field Entry tutorial, linked in the description. Once the field team finishes sampling, we are ready to enter the ChemField data, which is the digital version of the chain of custody. For detailed information on entering ChemField data, please refer to our Field Sampling Chem Field Entry tutorial video, linked in the description. The information we entered in Event Management carries over into this interface. We see 2 records per sample, one for each lab, just like in Event Management. We would enter the same sampling date and time for each one. The different lab and method will be enough for the system to recognize that these are distinct records, thus avoiding duplicate data errors. Note that the lab for a particular method in the chem field must match the lab code listed in the SED file, otherwise the SED file will be flagged with an error. When the labs enter their data, they can each submit their own SED file containing the samples and methods analyzed by that particular lab. The data for multiple labs does not need to be combined into a single SED file. However, the ADR will only qualify samples based on data in the same file, and cannot qualify data from one lab based on data from another in a different file. For example, the validator would need to update the qualifiers by hand if the results from the QA lab necessitate any updates to the other lab's data. For more information, please refer to our validation tutorial data sample qualification video, linked in the description. Under Reports, Event Tracking Reports, Event Status, Chemistry Detail, you can track the samples for each lab separately. Choose the project and event. Click View Report. You can see that each sample is listed twice, once for each lab. The color coding indicates the status of the sample in real time. This allows you to track each lab's progress individually. Don't forget to subscribe to the FUDSChem YouTube channel for more tutorial videos. All of the tutorials and playlists mentioned during this video are linked in the description below. Lastly, if you have questions or comments, feel free to contact us at fuds.support@synectics.net. Thank you.